Hey guys, what's up? Today I have a very cool technique exercise for you. So this is a short etude. Etude means a musical practice. It's basically a practice to develop your pull-offs and hammer-on techniques, but it also sounds pretty cool and pretty musical, and that's because I'm incorporating a nice bass line and chords into the actual practice. So in this video I'm going to first speak a little bit about the pull-offs and hammer-on techniques, how to make them really strong and clean, especially when using a nylon strings guitar. Secondly, I'm going to demonstrate the actual pattern that I'm playing here, the melodic pattern, and then I will show you the chord sequence that I'm adding on top of the melodic pattern to make it sound even more rich and musical. Tabs are available for download, so you can get right into your practice. Let's start by talking about hammer-ons and pull-offs. Especially when using a nylon strings guitar, you really want to make sure that you have good technique there. Otherwise, what tends to happen is that the hammer-ons and the pull-offs notes are simply not strong enough. You don't hear them enough. So in order to hear them properly, we need to use proper technique. I'll start with the pull-offs. So the name pull-offs implies the actual movement. You play a note, you pull the string a little bit down, you create tension, and then you let go. So then you don't use the right hand for the second note. Okay, so the first note we pick with the right hand, and then we pull with the left hand. We create some pressure here, and then from the release of the pressure that we created, that's what makes the string vibrate. So in this exercise in particular, I'm using only pull-offs to open strings. These ones are relatively simple to start with, so this is a great exercise for that. You can develop some speed and control here over your pull-offs. When you do pull-offs between two fingers, it's a tiny bit harder because the second finger needs to be there up front. But in this case, I'm not using it. I'm only using pull-offs to open strings. So these are pull-offs. Now let's talk about hammer-ons. Hammer-ons are the opposite direction, so we start with an open string and then we don't pick the second note. Instead of picking, we hammer with the left hand. Okay, so again, the name of the technique, hammer-on, implies the actual movement. We want to make the movement like a hammer, so fast and strong. That's what gives us a strong, clear sound. If you do the movement too slow, you choke the string, so it doesn't keep the momentum of the vibration, and then you don't hear the second note. If you do it too slow, that chokes the string, and also if you do it fast but not strong enough, same thing happens. So it needs to be both fast and strong. That's hammer-ons. It requires a little bit of experimentation at first to find exactly the way that works, and it takes some time until it becomes consistent. So be patient, work on it a little bit. And now let's move to the actual practice that I demonstrate here. I'll start with the melodic pattern. Okay, so it's a cool melodic pattern we are using here. If I'm counting from the capo, it's an E minor scale. In actuality, it's an F sharp minor scale because we're using the capo on the second fret. But I'll be counting from the capo from now on to make it simple. We start with the pinky on the third fret of the third string. We pull off, then we play the open third string, and then we hammer on. Okay, so we have a pull off, hammer on, and then we take the ring finger, we pick the third string on the second fret, and we pull off, and then the pinky, third fret on the second string, and then open string again. Okay, and notice that I'm constantly letting the previous string keep ringing and bleeding to each other. That gives us a more musical feeling, compared to if I would mute. So if I would play, you see, it sounds a little bit different. It sounds nicer when you let the strings bleed or ring into one another. And that's your first assignment. So you first want to be able to play this sequence 8 times in a row in an equal rhythm. That's a great practice in and of itself. Okay, and remember, the first goal is not the speed, but the consistent rhythm. So all of the notes are exactly equal. Tak, 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 tak. No pauses. And 2 clean pull-offs and hammer-ons. So we hear all of the notes clearly. And you want to be able to repeat that 8 times in a row before moving to the next stage, and preferably work a little bit with the metronome to build a bit of speed. In the next stage, which gets a little bit more complex, we're adding the bass line. So I'm starting with an E, counting from the capo. So open 6th string. Then I'm adding a decoration here. I'll explain in a moment. C. So you see, I'm more or less keeping the melody exactly the same. I only changed on the last one, on the D, I changed the last one to this note because it's a part of the D chord, so it sounds kind of like nicer. And I changed a little bit of the fingerings, and that's important to understand, because once we take the ring finger to play the bass note C, we want to keep it there. We want to keep it there because we want the bass note to ring throughout the whole bar. So that means we need to adjust the fingers on the top strings, the fingers that play the melody. Okay, so in this case, the ring finger is taken, plays the bass notes, and I have to find a way, using only the index, middle, and pinky fingers, to play the same sequence. The finger rings, by the way, are in the tabs, so you can just follow the instruction from the tabs, but I just want to explain the logic behind it. Okay, so we prioritize the consistency of the bass note, that it keeps ringing throughout the whole bar. And then on top of that, there is the layer of these things that I do. I'm also using a hammer-on here. You can see it in the tabs. It's basically just taking some extra notes from the chords that I'm playing, which are the E minor, C, and D. And I'm using them as feelers. So what it means, feelers, it means in terms of the frequency range, these notes are higher than the bass, but lower than the melody. So they don't take over the melody, and they also don't clash with the clarity of the bass note, which is the root note of each chord. And that's very important. So it's basically notes from the chords, which are in the middle between the bass and the melody, and I'm using them to fill the empty spaces here. Very nice, right? It gives us like another instrument, or like another layer. You hear it a lot in piano players. They often do that because they have lots of octaves, but we can also do that on the guitar. So this is our legato practice. Legato is the musical term for playing notes in a connected manner, which in the guitar, technically speaking, it translates into pull-offs and hammer-ons. So this is a pull-offs and hammer-ons technique practice. Tabs are available for download. Don't forget to follow the steps. Don't try too fast to jump into the third level, which is more advanced. Take it slow. Build a strong foundation for your technique, and enjoy your practice. I'll see you guys next time.